Imagine that the words you speak are powerful seeds, capable of bringing your deepest desires and dreams to life. In The Power of Words to Manifest by Ella Wheeler Wilcox, you will discover how the magic of what you say can transform your reality and open the doors to a future filled with abundance, love, and success. Through this captivating work, you will learn to use language with intention, to shape your destiny with every word, and to connect with the universe in a deeper, more powerful way. Get ready to embark on a journey where words are not just sounds, but cosmic forces that create and transform your life. The Last Journey of the Queen, written on the day of Queen Victoria's funeral. Today the Queen takes a walk while the carriage road is adorned in purple hues. The royal road she travels, one from which she will never return, is also dressed in that majestic color. No one should rush to witness her final resting place before mortal eyes, with heads uncovered. All await the passage of the Queen in all her glory. The army and navy will accompany the marvelous carriage of the Queen on its route. Kings, princes, and lords of the land will form part of the humble procession that follows behind her. Meanwhile, the flags of all nations will fly at half-mast, paying homage to this silent lady of royal birth who moves away from the courts of the world toward a mystical and enigmatic goal, seeking her secret purpose. Although her attire is simple and she does not wear a crown, she bears a symbolic crown of love that she has left behind, one that preceded her. Widowed, she is no longer crowned by the love she has lived and the love she has left in the hearts of every mourner. With respect and reverence, we lower our heads and raise our hearts, while the Queen passes in silence. The Meeting of the Centuries. In the deep night I witnessed or imagined a curious vision. 2 centuries met and stood face to face around a great round table representing the entire world. One of them showed on his face the marks of sorrow, and on his forehead the wrinkled lines of thought. The other radiated a cheerful and expectant presence, bearing the glow of invisible realms. In silence, hand in hand, both centuries stood for a moment, with the old and melancholic eyes of the first tenderly observing the face of the second, as a father looks at his child. Then a voice rose, blending its grey cadence with melodious tones like the song of birds at May dawns. The old century spoke. With you, hope remains. With me walks experience, like a precious jewel resting in a faded box. Sweet pity for all the dreams I see in your eyes, and those bright ambitions I know will fall like leaves and disappear into the snow of time. Just as the garden of my soul has been stripped, I offer you my compassion, my last gift. The new century responded, No, dear friend, I do not seek compassion, but good fortune on this morning of my life. I need advice, not condolences, smiles, not tears, to guide me through the years. I am blinded by the light shining over me from infinity, my vision clouded by the proximity of invisible things, where times blend. The old century replied, Illusions, only illusions. Hear and listen. The cannons without God resound far and near. The pirate era accelerates toward ruin, waving the flag of disbelief, greedy for control. These modern times are stained by the horrendous crimes of war. I leave a degenerate world. My farewell to the earth will be goodbye. The new century responded, You speak as one too tired to be fair. Though I hear the weapons and see the greed and lust, I also perceive the groans of a giant evil that heralds the arrival of good. The hour is pregnant with promises, and you place in my hands great confidence. The Martyrdom of President McKinley. On the day of President McKinley's death, amid the rolling waves, the mighty ship of the state sways, battered and torn, wounded by a blow from fate that left it adrift in the anchorage of hatred. On deck lies our noble pilot, in the glory of his fullness, in unfortunate silence, dead before his time, a victim of an egocentric mind in a godless crime in the annals of time. When the world's anger cools, the one who sought distinction through crime will be known as the chief of fools. But in the pages of eternity, the one who did not pursue fame, remaining faithful to duty, regardless of praise or blame, will shine beside the immortal. His name written in light, the youth proclaimed him a hero, time a statesman, love a man. Death crowned him a martyr. Thus he ran from goal to goal, knowing the sum of glory that a human life can encompass. He was chosen by the people, not an accident of birth, but his intrinsic worth. Fools may rule kingdoms, but not republics. He has raised the standard of lovers through loyalty and faith, showing how manhood can remain free from the breath of scandal. With unwavering confidence, he faced the terrible eyes of death in the power of progress. He fought to do better than his enemies. Let us remain silent while we let him rest, and may God calm the anguish in the chest of the woman who suffers sorrow, while the funeral procession advances, carrying its honored dead on its mournful path. A grieving nation bows its head, and the whole world unites in weeping as it witnesses the solemn spectacle. The grief of the woman. I thought of the affectionate and desperate heart of someone, and I said to myself, how sad it must be to share this experience. To share life, even with fame, can be difficult for a human heart, when glory imposes itself like a bold and insistent woman. Yet a great passion can overcome any selfish emotion and allow us to observe with pride the devotion the world has for that person. But death makes no exceptions, and my heart bowed and mourned for the grieving woman who cried alone, even as her death also belonged to her, borrowed from her, the bride, to receive the final martial honor of the world. While she remained in the shadow of her dark life, with the pain of widowhood still fresh upon her, he had poured the glory of love and fame upon her in a golden halo. She had shared his triumphs and borne his name. But he without her had travelled to far-off realms, never leaving her behind. But now, with the spectral form of the helm, he had sailed to a place where she could not reach him. And it was only a thought that arose in the midst of the muffled drumming, the funeral music, and the sad display. I knew it was only right and fitting as a thought, while the mourning train advances, column by column, carrying the dead toward the burial plain, with reverence as great as solemn illusion in space. The meeting with God. God and I met with no one else on the horizon. Where are the people? I asked. The earth below and the sky above our heads and the deceased I once knew. It was all a dream. God smiled and said, a dream that seemed real. There were no living or dead people. There was no earth or sky above your head, only I was in you. Why do I feel fear? I inquired. Because you have sinned, he answered. There is heaven, there is hell, and this is the day of judgment. Tell me, I said, was all that just a dream? The great God replied, dreams that have disappeared. There is no such thing as fear or sin. There is no you. There has never been anything but me, and in reality nothing exists at all. The closing thought. Let us proceed quickly. If you enjoy the content of this channel and it has been helpful to you, please click the subscribe button. This will help another person find this community, and by helping others, you show that you are one of us. Thank you, and let us return to the audiobook. Assertion, I am serenity personified. Though passions strike me like powerful waves, my heart remains defenseless. I know beyond those storms lies perfect and sweet serenity. Patience can reign, even when wild tempests roar in my chest. I cry peace, peace, and remembering that calm is my heritage. I also enjoy good health, although the fever torments my brain and rough disorders affect my strength. I trust that a perfect recovery will come after the pain, as that will be my reward. So through painful days and sleepless nights I cry out health, health, knowing it is rightfully mine. I succeed in my aspirations, though I may wander hungry, cold, and poorly dressed for a time. I smile and say, it is only temporary. Tomorrow I will rejoice, for good fortune is coming my way. I recognize that God is my Father, who possesses immeasurable wealth, and I know that his wealth is also mine, health, happiness, and gold. I am unaware of my origin and destiny, but the truth is, I find myself here in this world of pleasure and pain, despite the fog and darkness that may surround me. Another truth shines clearly. I have the power every day and every hour to increase the joy or the pain in my surroundings. I accept that the existence of the earth is not for me to question. I will not waste time trying to understand its purpose. My life is brief. I am here for only a short time, and while I wish to cheer and improve the place as much as possible, I believe the problem we all face is the lack of a higher purpose. If every individual thought they were sent here to make the world a little sweeter, we could cheer the world up quickly. If no one stepped aside and everyone worked to help their fellow human beings, it would make a great difference. I will stop questioning my arrival and seeking faults in myself or others. Today, I will rise with pride and say, I am part of the first great cause. Although the world is full, there is always room for someone with genuine intentions. I was needed here, or I would not be here. I am here to strengthen the plan and move towards something bigger than myself. Desire a better world. Let me share how to achieve it. Observe your actions and always maintain your integrity and sincerity. Clear your mind of selfish motives and let your thoughts be pure and elevated. In the space you occupy, you can create a small paradise. Want a wiser world? Well, start by accumulating wisdom in the album of your heart's memories. Don't waste a single page on trivialities. Live to learn and learn to live. If you want to impart knowledge to others, you must first acquire it yourself. Want a happy world? Then, day by day, remember to sow seeds of kindness in your path. For the happiness of many often comes from one alone, like the hand that plants an acorn protecting the army from the sun. Together, you and I make a home anywhere we go. We find joy regardless of the weather, whether the land is adorned with flowers or covered with snow. If the summer days invite us or dark winds blow, our union is what matters. We are satisfied with a simple feast, and in each cup we find the thrill of pleasure. The crowns hide any trace of worry, and with determination we dispel despair. She flows with a harmonious rhythm for us. Together we build our world, our joy. Each sunrise renews our youth, and every day holds an unknown glory. We do not cling to past sorrows or pleasures, for time leads us with hope and strums new songs and tales on its harp. We find heaven here, on this small earth. We do not wait for eternal kingdoms. We know the value of tears and pain because, for us, pain is always a rebirth of love. Our paths intertwine on sublime trails. Together, we live in eternal love, the poet's theme. What is the explanation for the strange silence of American poets on the American triumphs in Maryland? The poet of these pregnant times is urged to sing the impious crimes of war. But is it to praise commerce that thrives through the horrible holocausts of human lives? In ancient times, when the earth was young and Homer sang, men were beasts of war, and war was the only theme. Back then, power and strength were contested on equal terms, but in our modern battles, that is no longer the case. Too often, the conquering hero parades like a glider among the Lilliputs, and success is no longer based on skill or destiny, but on the movements of a syndicate. However, there are more worthy themes for the poet's pen in this great hour than the bloody deeds of men. Themes like the rights of many, not the value of one, the challenges to come, not the battle fought, the terrible opulence and terrible need, the rise of brotherhood and the fall of greed. It is time to sing of the soul of man, filled with divine strength, the call to the heights instead of the cry to the battlefield. There are no better themes in this great age for the poet, or for the voice of the wise, than those old stories of murders. The current song is silent, but perhaps that greater song will come with time. When the bard, the one the world waits for, arrives, he will not sing of war but of higher, more meaningful subjects for humanity in this great age. Song of the Spirit. The purpose of all life is to return to God. The Spirit sheds its worldliness and reunites with God. Every difficulty we face, whether disappointment, suffering, or despair, is just a step that leads us back to Him, step by step. Mile by mile we move towards God. Nothing else has true value but the return to Him. Each day is filled with light and shadow, moments of joy and sadness. But let us face them with a smile, saying in our hearts, let us return to God. Let us not let sadness mark our faces. Let us radiate sunlight instead while moving towards God. Let us enjoy the pleasure we find along the way, but always keep in mind the supreme purpose, to return to God. Woman. The perfect woman must be honest in her thoughts and actions, always driven by a generous heart and free from greed. She does not seek flattery, position, power, or money, but the best blessings for her higher self, seeking the well-being of all. Her faith allows her to face problems, pain, and death with courage and understand their teachings. Her heart overflows with tender sympathy like the fragrance of a rose. Although she may wear a mantle of sorrow, her face reflects a loyal nature, and her atmosphere is one of purity. Her chastity is not cold and austere, but a white flame that nurtures the soul and guides to inner peace. She possesses a sense of humor and joy that brightens the dark moments of life. Pride does not blind her. She always chooses good over evil. In the perfect woman, all these qualities unite, making her an admirable and complete being. Morning prayer. Today, allow me one action that alleviates a little sadness in this vast world, thus contributing to increasing the scarce sum of joy. I will not hurt anyone with selfish acts or reckless words. whether an enemy or a friend. I will not ignore worthy needs nor remain silent when I must defend what is right. Although my material wealth may be limited, I wish to give what benefits my loved ones, whether a word of encouragement or a thought of well-being for those who find it in troubled hearts. At the end of the day, when I look back between dawn and darkness, I wish to be able to tell my conscience that, thanks to some good deed towards any being, the world is a better place because of my existence. Today I hear the voices of the people calling out both day and night, crying out, waiting for the right moment. Men and women, it is your responsibility to stay alert, for behind their pleading lies a note of threat from those who usurp the land and the greedy-hearted. Reflect on the meaning of the murmur that rises here and there, growing in strength like a stream fed by a storm. Day after day, the river of opinion widens, striking and undermining the foundations of the dominion of greed. Though you may try to repress it with oppression and build golden bridges to contain it, the day and hour will come when I will flee before its force. Yes, I hear the people crying out both day and night, the unfortunate workers in the autumn of their lives, and the weary youth in the Maytime of their lives, crying for their share of work and pleasure, while you give them a scant measure for your coffers, and have stolen the broad acres of God only to fill your swollen bags. Or return them to their children before their pleas turn into curses. The world grows better. The land is filled with iniquities, difficulties, and afflictions, but progress triumphs each time we affirm this situation, and the way to do so is to frown and take a step back, to stop complaining aimlessly and face things head-on. If we explore the pages of history in all lands and times known, we will find past eras much more malevolent than ours. Examining every word and letter, we will notice that the world today is better than ever before. Certainly there is much to correct in the present. There are rights to amend, wrongs to eradicate. We hear the moans and curses of the poor suffering from hunger and death, while the greedy with empty hearts prevail. But despite all who darken today's sun, remember that they were doubled in past times. All these wrongs will be corrected, and good will dominate the earth. For the darkness is now illuminated by the torch in the hand of science. From small particles in chaos we have become what we are, and no evil force can stop us. We will travel star by star, breaking every bond and shackle that has kept us bound until now, and the earth is undoubtedly better than it was before. The ideal of a man, a charming and diligent homemaker, absorbed in recipe books but learned when advice is needed, quick to respond and slow to anger. Modest as a delicate flower, but bright and radiant as a star in the sky. Unconcerned with her form of thinking, yet with refined tastes, a generous and free nature, but also a representative of economy. She must be chaste, like proud Diana, yet warm like Venus to everyone else, cold like a white glacier under the sun to me, as ardent as the sensual rose that gives its sweetness to the bee seeking nectar, unaware of the world's wickedness, innocent like a nun in seclusion, but wise like the priestess in the arts of love. When I long for her sweet lips, good as the best and tempting as the worst, a saint, a siren, and a paradox. The fireman's call. Listen amid the hustle and bustle, the roar and clamor of the crowded streets. I hear that deafening sound, pushing and running to see what happens, like wild herds of cattle. The children run to a fire in the city. The machines are coming, the brave bells ring. Make way in the street. The wheels of the hose turn and hum to the rhythm of the music of the fast feet. Make way, the horses fly. The sparks from their swift hooves rise higher and higher. The crowd grows, the youth shout, hooray, boys, to the fire. The long lines follow the locomotive and the hose. The men are ready to face the battle, but they will leave again, only God knows. In windows and doors, restless faces gather. There is something in it that quickens the breath. How proudly the brave take their positions and hurry into the conflict, which may be their death. Faster and faster, the great horses thunder and leap on their path. The red enemy is already there, and it could be their master upon their return. Bold traffic of return, I tell you once. The noisy driver knows that the oaths do not matter. He holds the reins of his horses and surrenders to his fate. Let the crowds disperse. Let the streetcars, truck drivers, and mailmen pass like a comet in a minute. The children follow like the tail of a comet. The common street now only has traffic. The great fire trucks have disappeared from sight. The tides warn about the trash you throw into the tide. On the outgoing waves, it slips from your sight, but on the incoming waves, It can return and land back at your threshold before the night falls. Beware of the trash you throw into the tides. Be cautious with the madness you cast into the sea of life. The brilliant waves dance away, but in the tides of nemesis, they may be thrown back to your threshold on an untimely day. The march of the regiment. When the regiment returned, all the uniforms were blue, all the swords were bright and new. As the regiment marched down the street, all the men were healthy and strong, moving proudly amid the cheers that drowned out the music of their steps. Oh, the music of their steps, to the beat of the drums. Oh, the splendor and shine of the sight when, with new swords and rifles and blue uniforms, the regiment marched toward battle. When the regiment returned, all the weapons and swords were black, and the uniforms had faded to gray. The faces of the men who marched down that street again looked like the faces of the dead who have lost their way, for the dead who have lost their way cannot appear more pale and grey. Oh, the sorrow and pity of the sight! Oh, the tired feet lagging behind to the beat of the drums that thunder. From woman to man, the woman is the enemy, rival and competitor of man. John J. Ingalls, sir, you only joke and you do it poorly. Can the hand be the enemy of the arm, or the seed rival the grass? Can light be jealous of heat, or the leaf compete with the plant? Is rivalry between the lip and the smile truly possible? Are we not part of you, like strands of a great braid intertwined to form a perfect whole? Without us you could not exist, for we are the land from which you sprang. Although the book tells of a woman giving birth to a child without the help of a man, there are no records of a male child born without the help of a woman. Fatherhood is only a small achievement at best, while motherhood encompasses both heaven and hell. This growing discussion about sex is indecent and senseless. Why waste more time in controversies when there isn't enough time for all the love, our legitimate occupation in this life? Instead of speaking about our faults and failures, we should focus on the story of our courage, a story that would need eternity to be told. Our greatest development always comes from your praise, just as through our praise you reach your highest being. If you had not been greedy with your praise and had allowed our virtues to be their own reward, the old order of the world would never have been changed. It is not our fault, this imbalance between the sexes and the weakening of the masculine. We were happy, Lord, until you starved us, heart and mind. Everything we have done, whether wise or otherwise, we have done out of love for you. Let us forget all vain comparisons and go as God intended, hand in hand, comrades and companions forever. We are two parts of one divinely ordered whole. The traveler answers Rudyard Kipling, he who travels alone travels faster. The solitary traveler, who with his eyes seeks the heights, laughs during the day but often cries at night. His courage wanes as the sun sets, for all the burden of the journey falls on his shoulders. He rushes towards sorrow, though he rides merrily, traveling without love by his side, with no lover nor friend. He hurries from nothing to nothing in the end. Though he may reach great gains and high goals, he lacks wisdom, and his soul feels like a beggar. He is denied the only valuable gift of life, the one who travels without love by his side. In this world it is easy to be swept up by haste if one lives with that purpose. But think of the waste. Life is a poem to be read slowly, and the true joy of the journey does not lie in its speed. Oh, vain in its accomplishment and petty in its pride, the one who travels alone without love by his side. The earth belongs to both you and me, a legacy from our God. Who dares defy this divine testament? The usurpers of the land, we demand our fair share. Our birth grants us this royal right. Beware, beware, release the greedy hand from the earth that belongs to God. We claim only what we need. That is what we demand now. I trust in God in the morning, without worrying about where or how it will happen. My focus is on the present. That small word, though shorter than the future, holds double the meaning and power when used correctly, like someone blindfolded seeking their way. I will not try to go beyond the present day, for the future is hidden from sight. I will only strive to take the next right step. Once this is done, I will move forward and so on, until maybe one day I am no longer blind, and looking up, I see a radiant friend who says, "Rest now, for you have reached the end." You and today, every time the sun rises, think that your life is beginning anew. The past has withered and is deeply buried. All the yesterdays, let them rest in peace. Do not try to summon any ghost from that countless army. Worry about today, take care of it, and teach it to obey your desires and will. Since time began, the day has been a friend to man. But in his blindness and pain, he looks to yesterday and tomorrow, you and today, a sublime soul and the great moment full of possibilities, with God in the middle to guide the way. Move forward, I say. Reach the reason. Do you know the force that moves the tides when they swing from below to above? It is love, love, love from the moon in the sky. Oh, follow where she leads, the tides of the faithful heart. You know that it drives the earth from winter to spring. It is love, love, love from the sun, the mighty king. Oh, tasses that comes from the kiss of the sun and the earth. Do you know what makes the sweet song sound for me above the struggle of the earth? It is love, love, love that brings it into my life. Oh, the glory of the songs in the heart where love belongs. Mission, if you long for a high task, if great ambitions dominate your mind, observe yourself first and do not ignore the small, common ways of being kind. If you dream of a future goal when crowned with glory and power, beware of leaving any struggling soul without help in the present. If you pity the earth and wish to help it, do not look only upward. Also, alongside some poor mute creature dying of thirst. All life is equal before the eternal eye. If you wish to correct what is wrong, begin at home. There lies the work of a lifetime. Pull out the weeds from your own garden, in full view, before planning to plow the land of another. God chooses his own leaders in the world, and the rest only asks for willing hands. As powerful mountains are placed in their place, the patient tides can only shape the sands, repeating again and again, intertwining these truths in a song that the divine plan wants for you and me. Love is more influential than destiny, and love drives the world despite humanity's doubts. My creed will be heard and acknowledged, that God can always be found within us, that the worship of the ego is the only sin and that greed is the only demon. Again and again I will express and sing these truths, that love overcomes hate, that a man's thought shapes his own destiny, and that life is a treasure. Begin the day by starting every dawn conversing with God and requesting your divine inheritance, usefulness, satisfaction, and success. Renounce all fear, all uncertainty, and all hopelessness. The stars do not falter. They remain impervious, spinning in space across countless centuries without any explanation of why or for what they do it. And the sea, with its eternal ebb and flow, obeys and leaves its purpose in the hands of the invisible cause. The star radiates its light over countless worlds, the sea with its waves, and yet no starlight is lost, and no drop is missing in the tides of the ocean. O brother of the stars and the sea, understand that all the opulence of God is entrusted to those who wait serenely and act with faith. Words have great power in the realm of life. It is crucial to be careful with their use. Those who speak of hate, poverty, or illness unknowingly attract these same elements to ruin their fate. On the other hand, when love, health, happiness, and abundance are constantly mentioned, these elements hear their names and come like nearby fairies to settle in our homes. Those who utter evil summon the formless and give it life and reach. Such is the law. No word should escape that does not breathe eternal hope. It is important to be aware of the power of our words and focus on always expressing hope and positivity. Destiny and I. The wise assert that you, O destiny, are invincible and grand. I accept your prowess, and yet I dare challenge you with my will. You can crush in an instant all the earthly pride of man, control external circumstances, but retreat. I govern my soul. Death is so insignificant that it hardly deserves mention. What has death to do with me except to free my spirit? Within me resides something, O destiny, that can rise and dominate loss, sorrow, and disaster. So how can you be my master? In the great primordial morning my immortal will was born, part of that amazing cause that conceived the solar laws, illuminated the suns, and filled the seas, the most real of all inheritances. That great cause was love, the source that with more love has more power. He who harbors hate drains the soul of peace and power. He who does not hate his enemy has no reason to fear the hardest blow of life. In the realm of brotherhood, without wishing evil on anyone, only good can come to me. This is the supreme decree of love. Since I close my door to hate, what do I have to fear? O destiny, not fearing you, I swear it is I who rule, not you. Reach out, use all your hidden forces. Do not lose sight of the purpose of this life, and do not wait for circumstances to shape or change your destiny. Destiny resides within you. Let this vast truth eliminate all fear, prejudice, and hesitation. Recognize that you are great with a divinity accompanying you. So take your surroundings and dive into bliss. Love widely and harbor no hate toward anything. Do not set any goal that is not in harmony with the universal good. Listen to the voices of silence. All joys will be yours, and you will claim them once you understand the spiritual laws. Material things will have to respond and obey a call to peace. When great challenges stand before us, the insignificant men of the day seem small, like pygmies standing before a majestic mountain wrapped in shadows and beams of light. War, with its bloody and impartial hand, reveals the hidden weakness of a nation and exposes those who, in times of peace, appear as heroes, but whose honor is only a commodity for trade. It also illuminates places that have been hidden beneath the veil of proud conventions and reveals the misfortunes that have long been ignored. O beautiful peace, you are just and wise. If great men are to arise, they will surely do so to fulfill your orders, just as warriors quickly respond to the call of the bugle and the drum. Heroes too will answer the imperious voice of peace, willing to live for their country and for you. In every corner of the world and in every age, men are shaped by the circumstances they face. Therefore you, O peace, must demand the best of your children and teach them that it is not necessary to burden their hearts with hatred and seek confrontation with lethal weapons to prove their worth. The greatest heroes who have ever existed on this earth were souls full of love who did not seek conflict but chose the hard, elevated, and solitary path of selfless work to alleviate the suffering of the world. With our glorious flag waving victoriously once more, such heroes wait to be called to peaceful action by you. O peace, remain firm in your demanding call, and you will see how wise and great men rise on the earth to respond to your request. Presumption. Whenever uncertainty or wonder assails me, I reprimand myself and think, the mighty creator of the solar system cannot be wrong, and all is being carried out for the good. The one who placed the stars in their eternal courses has also designed this earth in a strange but purposeful way. You must bow to these majestic forces and never dare doubt their wisdom. As a mere man, you cannot move even a small star, shape a single leaf in the forest, raise a mountain, or sink an ocean. You are presumptuous and arrogant, filled with unbelief. You cannot bring forth a glorious dawn or make the day become a dark twilight, nor send the pale moon with her gentle glow. Then you dare to doubt the one who created all this. Yes, it is true that there is much evil, pain, and sin in the world. However, if you look again, you will see how many things are right. The one who formed the world from its beginnings knows how to guide it toward the light. Your task as a human being is not to complain about God's achievements, but to hold on to the good and turn away from the evil. This is how you contribute and help the world. High noon, the finger of time on the clock of my life marks noon, yet the day that is halfway through leaves less than half left to live, for the dark and gloomy shadows of death envelop the end. Those who burn the candle at both ends find little light in the flickering wick. A long life is sadder than an early death. We cannot rely on the frayed threads of old age to weave our destiny. We must use the warp and weft provided by the present and work while there is light in our lives. When I think of the future, which is the past, the future, still briefer, calls me to action. It is not the time to look back in nostalgia, nor to lose oneself in dreams. It is not a time for self-complacency or lamenting mistakes. If I have acted nobly and virtuously, I must not allow the dead past or the unborn future to shame me. If I have made mistakes, let the bitter taste of their consequences be my reminder in moments of temptation, and keep me silent when I want to judge others. Sometimes it is necessary to face and acknowledge our sins in order to clean the cloudy windows of our souls and allow mercy to shine through. Looking back, I see that my faults and errors have been stepping stones leading me to the knowledge of the truth and have made me value virtue. Even sorrows shine with the colors of the rainbow over the abyss of the years where pleasures have long been forgotten. Looking ahead toward the bright midday sky, I feel encouraged and prepared for the struggle that does not end until we reach nirvana, fighting against destiny, against men, and against myself on the rugged peak of the morning of my life. I have learned 3 valuable things to guide me and help me in the descent of the western slope. I have learned to pray for the courage to accept whatever comes, knowing that what arrives is divinely sent. I have learned to work for the common good, for only by doing so can good come into my life. I have learned to save by giving what I have to those who have not, for only thus will I find true gain in this existence. Magnets of thought. Whenever you have a powerful thought, whenever you long for something you consider necessary for your soul, vast and invisible forces gather between you and that goal. Only when some hidden weakness alters or diminishes your desire does this merciful army falter or halt before reaching success. Thought acts as a magnet, and the object of your desire, whether a longed-for pleasure, a blessing, or an objective, is like steel. Its achievement depends solely on the intensity with which your soul can feel it. Smiles. Smile a little as you move through life, not only when everything is pleasant, but also when things go wrong. Care delights in seeing you frown, and loves to hear you sigh. But if you present a smiling face, it quickly turns away. Smile a little along the way. Every life has its burden, every heart its affliction. Why sit in the gloom and darkness to dine with your pain while you drink the bitter tonic of destiny? Smile even through the cup. Smile at the troubled pilgrims you meet along your way. Frowns are thorns, and smiles are flowers that often soothe tired feet. Do not make the path seem harder with a sullen face. Smile a little, brighten the place. Smile at your unfinished work. Do not expect wealth or glory for those who grieve over their task. Those who smile achieve true happiness. Even if you encounter loss and pain as the years pass, smile a little even through your tears. The country to discover. Humanity has explored every corner of countries and territories, acquiring the secrets of all climates. Right now, before the world reaches its fullness, the oval earth is surrounded by belts of steel, and the seas are ruled by ships that sail every cape. Even the proud, sublime, and bold elements have revealed their secrets forever, acting swiftly, obeying their orders. Yet, having searched tirelessly along all distant coasts, no unknown kingdoms remain, nor plains to explore, all under control and reach. Nevertheless, there still exists a realm to discover, the country of your own soul. Go and know yourself. O universal man, we move forward with laughter and song, observing on the hillside adorned with youthful flowers, a beacon of light that shines beautifully in our eyes, the enchanting season of hope. But inexorable time moves forward, and as we ascend, our youth quickly slips away. With the years, we arrive with hearts numbed by the sorrows of life at the foggy station of tears. We continue onward, where the milestones are sadly the graves of our loved ones, heading west where shines and glows the serene resting station beneath the last rays of the dying sun. Everything in this world is change, and no tomb can separate the soul from its heavenly Father. Casting off earthly limitations, the soul flies back to its God toward the infinite city of love, regardless of the adversities it may encounter along the way. Unanswered prayers. God acts as a kind but severe schoolmaster who listens to the children cry and scream for help, but does not intervene, knowing that their self-development lies in facing challenges. In the same way, God is not deaf to sincere prayers. He listens and strengthens when necessary. He even sometimes denies our requests, watching our struggles with the difficult lessons of life. And though we may wish He would dry our tears and resolve all our problems, we would understand little and learn nothing. Imagine a world where all our prayers were answered. It would be chaos, as if Pandora's box were opened, releasing vast evils that lie in our hearts. Our own fervent prayers in youth seeking specific blessings were denied, but over time I have learned to thank those denials, as they have granted me wisdom and strength. Although we do not always receive what we ask for in our prayers, we find help and comfort by lifting our souls toward the grace of God. In these heights, where supplications find a place, we discover renewed strength to face the daily challenges, strength that is found nowhere else. Therefore, continue praying, sad heart. Though what you ask may not be granted, in those moments of connection with the divine, you will find the strength to carry your daily burden. Gratitude. As we walk through white and starry fields, we often overlook simple beauties, like daisies, without offering them praise. Instead of appreciating the common blessings that surround us, we long for some exceptional delight to light up our lives with splendor. Thus, we ignore the sweet and tender pleasures that present themselves in our daily lives. Our bold and persistent worries occupy our thoughts and feelings, stealing time for delight. Many joys pass unnoticed and fade into oblivion as worries struggle to dominate our lives unless we put a brake on them. However, every day of the year holds some hidden pleasure if we pay attention. Looking back, those joys often fill the wide channel of our past. Blessings appear as close friends, loving us and working in our lives. We must lift our notes of praise while there are living hearts to hear us. Many blessings disguise themselves as worries or problems, but a wise soul knows the mask is double. Those who have faith and strength find the ability to thank God even amid pain, finding pure and unmixed joy to light up every morning. We should turn every moment into a note of happy and joyful thanksgiving, turning hours and days into a silent melody that represents our life in action. Thus, the theme of gratitude will grow and rise, accompanying the weeks and months as we move through life, culminating in a great chorus of thanksgiving in this precious moment. Contrasts. I contemplate the tall church bell towers rising so far, yet the eyes of my heart see the bustling marketplace of the world, where people suffer from hunger and need. I hear the church bells ringing, their tones in the morning air, but the sad ear of my soul is hurt by the desperate cry of the poor man. The churches grow more imposing, ever closer to the sky, but I lament their creeds while the needs of the poor deepen with the passing of the years. If they had a ship, in whose vast holds were stored the priceless riches of all climates and lands, I would ask you, would you let it float aimlessly over the seas, at the mercy of fickle winds and vulnerable to wild waves and hidden rocks? That ship is yours, and in its depths lies all the wealth of this vast universe. Yes, also resides part of the omnipotence of God, the divine legacy of every soul. Your will, O man, is that great ship, and yet you let it drift here and there. Sometimes it remains still in port, then it is suddenly cast into the sea, only to run aground on the sands, and once again it sails on empty searches, bringing nothing back to no man's land, until exhausted and irritated by the aimless struggle, battered by the indecisive winds, it ends up on a rock, or with its hold full of unused treasures. Save your lazy ship. Take the helm and steer it toward knowledge, glory, and success. Great navigators have paved the way for you to follow. Stay on the course of the channel of concentration, and all things will respond to your desires with diligence, just as the needle leans toward the magnet or the blade of grass imprisoned in winter feels the kiss of spring. Life in darkness. We move forward in the darkness, groping, and if we make mistakes, at least we learn which path is not the right one, and that benefits us. We do not always win the race by just running well. It is necessary to traverse the base of the mountain before reaching its summit. The great spiritual leaders were not always perfect. They too walked paths of light, and through their experiences, they rose as divine figures. Krishna, Buddha, and Christ. In their journeys, they left powerful truths that today men can only grasp faintly. Yet he who loves himself and understands the purpose of pain, despite the mistakes of his past, will ultimately reach success. There are souls that need to experience evil before choosing good. We should not consider as wasted those years that led us toward the light. Every experience is valuable in our path of spiritual growth. A marine etching. A yacht detached from the port's moorings and sailed the sea like a swift racer on a blue racetrack. Behind it, the sea dust rose, a grey mist that hid it from sight. Love yourself last. Place love for yourself last. Observe closely, contemplate your duties and those who share the path of life with you. Make your days joyful with small acts of beauty that help them bear the burdens of existence. Place love for yourself last. Look toward the horizon and find the stranger who struggles in his sin and despair. Go to his aid and lift him from danger, bringing him to a place from which he can admire the beauty of the world. Place love for yourself last. The vast heights above you are filled with spiritual forces. These faithful friends, strong, pure, and fervent, will love you. Be vigilant toward others and persevere in this task. Place love for yourself last, and a joy will surprise you that will shake your being like never before, granted to no selfish souls. Whatever your fate, perfect peace will fill you, and the earth will become the antechamber of heaven. Place love for yourself last, and you will grow in spirit to see, hear, know, and understand. You will hear the message of the stars, and all of God's joys will be at your disposal. Christmas whims. When the Christmas bells swing over the snowfields, we hear sweet voices resonating from a land of old and see etched in empty places half-forgotten faces of friends we once cherished and loves we once knew. When the Christmas bells swing over the snowfields emerging from the ocean of the present, near the shore, we gaze with strange emotion at that long-disappeared Elysian continent, the beautiful lost Atlantis of youth, so beloved, rising from the ocean of the present near, when the grey and sombre Decembers are awakened by Christmas joy. The dullest life remembers that once there was joy on earth, and extracts from the crevices of youth some memory it possesses, exaggerating its value when the grey and sombre Decembers are awakened by Christmas joy. When I hang the holly or mistletoe, I know that every heart remembers some madness that illuminated the world with joy. Not all seers and wise men with the wisdom of the ages can give the mind as much pleasure as the memory of that kiss, because life was made to love, and only love rewards, as proven by the years that pass through all the sad paths of time. There is a sting in pleasure. Fame offers only a superficial measure, and wealth is nothing but a ghost that mocks the restless days because life was made to love, and only love rewards. May love, the principle of the world, end fear, hatred, and sin. May love, the eternal God, be worshipped in all climates. The river. I am a river flowing from the sea of God through winding paths traced by him, and my course is unchangeable. My only task is to keep the waters clean from impurities and dirt. The meandering river concludes where it began, and when my life has completed its brief cycle, I must return to that mysterious source. Therefore, allow me to collect daily on my journey the aromas of flowers I encounter, the balm of the pines, and the healing that the grass offers. And as I follow my course, I will not drag common stones, but I will show precious gems in my wake. Moreover, I will carry tears, the sacred water of the eyes of the afflicted, back to the sea of God, the source of all rivers. I will not transport blood from wounded hearts, nor the poison of the upas tree. When I leap with joy over the blooming valleys, I will not devastate them nor destroy them, but I will leave them even more beautiful to the eye. If I must jump through horrible abysses, I will not murmur at my fate, but I will face the journey bravely until the end, without fear, knowing that the one who planned my paths is near. Love sent me, and to love I will return, for love is everything and is above all. Amen. Forgiveness. On the path of life, I find many things that sadden me. Every day I observe more pathos in the poor human lives. It grieves me to see strong and brave men who protect the weak, but cannot find a protective arm in their own difficult moments. I also lament for the victors who have attained success only to become targets of arrows thrown by the envious hand of failure. I feel compassion for generous hearts that freely shared their wine but now drink alone the gall of tears in the gloomy decline of fortune. My thoughts turn to the souls who build the funeral pyre of their own fame, only to be mocked by the crowd, just as ice mocks fire. I mourn for the conquerors who do not know the defeat of sin but trample the fierce desire under bleeding feet. Likewise, I feel deep sorrow for the anguished hearts that break with the tension of passion. But what saddens me most are the poor souls hungry, who never knew the pain of love and go hungry for years, barren without tasting the joys they long for their fate is even sadder than crying over a grave. I mourn for souls that are born unwelcome and for the old, unloved, who accumulate on the earth. I also lament for the poor who suffer in the great maelstrom of life, thrown into challenging situations. Truly, I empathize with all those who make this world a painful place. Yet beneath all this sadness and misunderstanding, I know that a powerful seed of good is already hidden from our sight. This belief remains firm for me. It is my sermon, my motto, and my text. The saddest things in this life will seem greater in the next, the path of ambition. If the sole purpose of this continuous effort was simply to reach the goal, all the planning and scheming, the relentless persistence, and the hurried impulse of body, heart, and mind would seem poor and meaningless. But always behind the true achievement shines a brilliant wake. Other souls will be stimulated by witnessing your success. They will conceive new strengths and hopes and believe in their own power because you did not fail. Glory or sorrow are not solely yours. If you lose the goal, lives that have not yet imagined it will borrow their weakness or strength from your example. Forward, forward, ambitious soul, uncontrolled. You master man and subdue one by one the mighty forces of the mysterious space. The terrible lightning bolts that for eons ran their devastating, unhindered course now carry their messages from one place to another like messenger pigeons. The winds obey your will, and the untamable elements submit gracefully to your strength. With your daring feet, you scale heights once impassable, dominating light, darkness, air, water, heat and cold, as you command and gain power and riches. You are a ruler, a king and a demigod, but still you walk with your fierce passions uncontrolled. You are the conqueror of all things, except yourself. Despite your power and dominion over the world, you have not yet conquered your own passions and desires. Willpower can be whatever you desire it to be. Let failure find its false essence in the word environment, but the spirit despises it and is free. It dominates time, conquers space, dismays presumptuous chance, and forces tyrannical circumstance to surrender its crown and take the place of a servant. The human will, an imperceptible force descended from an immortal soul, can forge the way to any goal. Even if granite walls stand in the way, do not be impatient with the delay, but wait with understanding. When the spirit rises and gives orders, the gods are ready to obey. The river that seeks the sea faces obstacles and precipices, but it knows it cannot fail or err. You will be whatever you want to be. To an astrologer, I do not doubt your wisdom, O visionary, nor do I question that my life, past, present, and future, can be revealed in my horoscope. I believe that the dead moon influences the seas to ebb and flow, that my natal star stands like a sentinel with severe brows in the space, challenging events. It does not allow sorrow, joy, failure, or success to interfere to curse or bless my earthly destiny until it proves its karmic right to come to me. I acknowledge this, but no more. Before the solar systems were conceived, when nothing existed but the unnameable, my spirit lived as an atom of the cause, through countless ages, existing in many forms before incarnating in this human flesh to fulfill its brief time on earth. The immortal I, the spark of that great fire that gives rise to everything, is part of the eternal source called God, and more powerful than the universe. He who knows and in knowing never forgets the divine lineage of his own soul can conquer, shape and govern destiny, using vast space as a chessboard with stars as pawns. He can change his horoscope to align with his will, transforming failure into success and harvesting joys from predestined sorrows. No planet, sun, moon, or insignificant zodiac sign can control the God who resides in us. If we allow them to influence the events, we shape them to our will. It is when the infinite hides under the finite that men let themselves be ruled by their horoscopes. The fate of the sprout under the snow. In the darkness and cold, a pale sprout buzzed sweetly, singing of the beautiful days ahead under the frozen moon. "Your songs are so foolish," commented a piece of chair. "What's the point if there is no proof? Look at the walls separating you from the day. Do you think you have the strength to move them?" However, under the ice and snow, the pale sprout continued singing. "I cannot explain it, but I know what the days bring, birds, flowers, and bees buzzing, blue skies over me, blooming meadows and buds on trees, and the great sun joyfully to love me." Then a pebble intervened, saying, "You're completely absurd with your persistent song. I've never seen a tree or a bird, so it's obvious they don't exist." "But I know," exclaimed the sprout with beautiful and rational conviction, until it suddenly gloriously broke its prison and emerged triumphantly into the joyful spring season. The times are not in decline. The faith of man rises higher than in the past. No crumbling creed can strip the immortal soul of the need for its supreme God. The dead beliefs we embraced in our youth fade to make way for the welcome of the newly born truth. Man can no longer worship prostrated in the old sanctuary, in self-contempt for self-accusation. That night has passed. Now he proclaims a more beautiful dawn and feels something divine. He no longer sees himself as a humble worm with a sinful inheritance, but by being born of God, he feels Christ within him. His prayers are not loud as in the old times, but his reverence is deep to that powerful force, that hidden work of the great source of all, that makes the present age so sublime. Religion now has a higher and broader meaning. Man has never been so close to God. The question at our side. In search of pleasures through all our restless efforts for fame, and amidst our cravings for worldly gains and treasures, there walks someone whom no one desires to mention. Silently, he follows us, hidden in form and feature, indifferent to our sorrows or joys. But the day will come when every living creature must look at his face and hear his voice. When that day arrives, And death, revealing its true face, blocks our path and tells us, "This is the end. What question will you ask us about our past?" Have you thought about it, my friend? I believe he will not reprimand us for our sins, nor care about our creeds or dogmas. He will simply ask, "From the beginning of your life, how many burdens did you help carry?" The uses of pain. Through the years, I have come to understand the uses of pain more and more. It seems increasingly profound to grasp why and for what it must exist. Only after passing through dark and damp days can we fully appreciate the brilliant rays of the sun. The bark of a tree tastes sweeter after a fast than the best feast for someone who is already sated. And even the slightest joy never sounds bad to an actor who has experienced the displeasure of a whistle from the audience. He who has known the sadness of solitude finds light the chains that love can impose. And he who has lived in complete harmony with himself hears all the music in the tone of friendship. Thus, I increasingly understand how pain can sometimes become our friend. The meaning of yes. Between who you are and who you long to be, do not let any yes act as a scapegoat. Human beings often place excessive importance on that trivial word. Yet before the powerful creative force driven by a determined will, that yes fades like a blade of grass before a scythe. You will become what you could have been. Circumstances are simply toys in the hands of the genius. When a soul burns with the divine purpose of reaching a goal, all obstacles between it and its objective must disappear, like dew before the sun. If the motto of the amateur and the lazy dreamer is the lamentable excuse of mediocrity, the truly great do not surrender to that word, or if they do, it is only to despise it. Otherwise, Joan of Arc would have perished as a peasant without being crowned by the glory and recognition of humanity. Who are you in today's world? There are only two types of people in the world, no more than two, I affirm. They are not the sinners and the saints, because even the good have their share of evil, and the bad have something of goodness. They are not the rich and the poor, for true wealth is measured by the kindness and health of each individual. They are not the humble and the proud, for life is brief, and those who puff up are but human. They are not the cheerful and the sad, for the fleeting years bring laughter and tears to all equally. What I mean is that there are two types of people in the world, those who rise and those who bow. Wherever you go, you will find that the masses of the earth are always divided into these two classes. And although it may seem strange, you will find, I believe, that there is only one riser for every 20 who bow. In which category do you find yourself? Are you relieving the burden of the overburdened risers, working hard on the path, or do you bow, letting others share your part of the work, worry and care? The creed of being. Our thoughts have the power to shape spheres of possibilities that transcend time and resonate through the universe as either a blessing or a curse. We build our future not only with our actions, but also with the shape of our desires. No creed imposed by priests can alter the facts. Salvation is neither begged for nor bought. The selfish hope has been enough, and man no longer wants to depend on a tortured Christ. Like withered leaves, the worn-out creeds of religion fall, and the world begins to recognize its true needs. Souls yearn to be freed from the burden of fear and pain. The evolved man no longer clings to the beliefs that nourished the first naive souls. Instead, he bravely questions the unresolved mysteries above the noise of priests and the love of doubt. There is a silent and loving voice that sends its simple message each day. Its command resonates more clearly and sweetly from the heavens. Let the Christ within you rise, see beyond the ego and allow your true being to blossom. Inspiration, not as a bold, daring and aggressive youth, is the inspiration you long to pursue. Instead, it is more like a loving but shy maiden who gives herself to the best suitor. She may smile at you once, or perhaps 3 times, and your soul will burn as she passes by. However, when she turns her face away, you must pursue and court her with desire if you wish to gain her favor and grace. And yes, like a bird that flies, she rises into the air, leaving you exhausted and dejected on the ground. Still, you must strive to follow her even there, so that she may know your worth. Then she will reveal herself with all her charms, bringing you joy instead of pain, and smiles instead of tears, embracing you with possessive arms as she whispers music in your ears. However, before her kiss fades from your cheek, she will flee from you across hills and meadows, forcing you to search and seek again. For each new conquest of this enigmatic maiden, desire must persist. If tomorrow some great angel reveals to me that I must return to the beginning and retrace my steps, but God, compassionate for your suffering, will grant a cherished longing, the one closest to your heart, this would be my wish, that everything from the faint beginning of my life be exactly as it has been, for wisdom has traced every step, my needs, my sorrows, my mistakes and sins, all of them indispensable lessons for the growth of my soul. 3 friends, among all the blessings that have crossed my life, there are 3 that I cherish and exalt above all others: need, solitude, and pain. These true companions, for many years, disguised themselves as enemies, filling my heart with fear. However, fleeting joys, like false and vain friends, have proven to be less worthy than this trio. First, need led me through arduous work and steep paths to the summits of pure delight, places only trodden by those who know fatigue and yet persist until they reach the heights. Then, solitude and hunger of the heart led me to the realms of space, where all silences became eloquent and all their loving forces welcomed me as a friend. Lastly, pain taught me to pray, placing in my hand the staff of close communion with the higher soul so I could lean on it until the end and find myself strong for any struggle. Thus those 3 who had pursued my steps as severe and relentless enemies, year after year, revealed themselves, turning their faces toward me. And oh surprise, they were divinely beautiful, for through them shone the lustrous eyes of love. One never knows, one can never predict with certainty the impact of a word that, like an arrow shot by an archer, can be cruel or kind, finding its mark right where it should go. It may wound the heart of a dear friend with poison or balm, or it may bring comfort or pain to the heart of a stranger in the vast marketplace of life. Every action we take sows a seed, though we may not see its harvest. Every act of kindness is like an acorn falling into the fertile soil of God, and though we do not perceive it, the tree will grow and provide shelter for those who work under its shade. We can never know what effect our thoughts will have, whether they bring hate or love, for thoughts are things with wings, swifter than messenger pigeons, following the law of the universe. Everything generates its own kind and hurries to return to us what came from our minds. Here and now, here in the center of the world, in the midst of noise and clamor, where our spirits were thrown into battle with pain and sin, this is the place and moment to discover the infinite things. This is the realm where thought can conquer like kings. Do not expect a heavenly life. Do not seek only the temple. Here, in the midst of struggle, learn what the wise knew, what the perfect saw, God in the depth of every soul, God as light and law, God as principle and end. The earth is a chamber of heaven. Death is no greater than birth. Rejoice in the life that has been granted to you. Strive for perfection on earth, here in the bustle and roar. Show how to find calm. Show how the spirit can rise and bring healing and balm. Do not turn away or step aside. Plunge into the heat of the struggle, in the street and the market. That is the place to do it right, not in some cloister or cave, not in some celestial realm. Here on this side of the grave, here we must work and love, unconquerable and fierce, with a firm hand and sure aim. When you shoot your poisoned arrow from the bent bow toward my heart, I know I am still the master of my destiny. You cannot take my best state from me, even though fortune, fame, and friends may fade. Even if love abandons me, when all is balanced on the scale, there is only one great danger in this world. You cannot force my soul to wish you evil. That is the only evil that can annihilate me. Everything that love asks for, I ask for, says love. I only wish to stand and gaze, to immerse myself in your dear eyes without limits, for in their depth already lies the greatest paradise. Even if you grant me the rose of your hand, the joy I already consider complete would be even sweeter. I ask for everything, says love. All I desire is to stand and gaze, to have my hand entwined with yours, while I drink the nectar of your breath in a sweet kiss, but only one of all your essence. I ask for no more. In place of everything I ask, say I ask for everything. Everything that belongs to the earth elevates you above all. Everything you were, are, and will be, body and soul, love asks for everything. If a humble worker, burdened by the vicissitudes of life, crosses our path and continues carrying his heavy load, barely aware of his exhaustion, life will repay his effort. If we can show to the afflicted heart the opportunities that always arise from adversity, then we will have paid for all the suffering of bearing the weight of life. If we manage to infuse hope into a dejected soul, or draw a smile from a sad face, whether through our actions or words, then it will have been worth living. In my youth, I wandered across vast green plains in search of pleasure. From afar, I clearly saw the silhouette of fame on high, standing out against the sky. Beyond the crowds gathered along a wide road, I glimpsed a golden flash of a goal while the siren of love smiled from a blossoming bower. I gazed deeply into love's eyes, and with the arrogance typical of youth, I laughed at its charm. "Now, climb to the dizzying heights of glory," I exclaimed, "there above the common paths where pleasure rises alongside the heavens." However, when I reached that summit near the heavens, it seemed so distant from humanity, so far from love. "It is not here," I cried. "Where pleasure finds its way from the distant frontier of youth, fame does not smile from its high sunlit position, but frowns and hides in the shadows." When we reached the goal, my eyes focused on that bright target, desired by all souls immersed in the mundane. Under the heavens, gold tempts the artist from above, gold attracts the maiden away from the arms of love, gold buys the fresh and naive heart of youth, and gold, I thought, will show me the way to pleasure. But alas, the path and the discord of that road, where wild, deafened souls rush toward the goal, straying from their best youthful impulses, blind to the celestial beauty of the skies, dulled between the voice of conscience and love, wandered away from the eternal height of truth. Then truth spoke to me from that noble height, saying, "You crossed paths with pleasure on the way, she with her longing eyes filled with love, whom you scorned in pursuit of the goal of glory. Two roads converge under the arched heavens of God, and both lead directly to pleasure. O heart blinded by youth, pleasure does not find its way, not toward the heights of fame nor the goal of vile gods, but under calm skies, where duty walks alongside love in an endless youth." The optimist saw the fields dark and soaked, no wing nor note enlivened the gloomy forest, while a pile of dirty and grim snow stood beside the road. The winds whispered of future storms, carrying the cold sting of icebergs in their breath. The cattle stood still, lowing, begging for green food on the earth. Everything lacked luster, with no glimpse of hope. The sky remained white and grey like the face of someone unfortunate who has drunk too much from the cup of life. Yet swaying back and forth as if extending its graceful arms over the cold nature, the willow tree smiled with promise in the midst of the winter blast, speaking of spring. The pessimist, although all rejoiced, the last locust still angry, kept speaking of sorrow. An inspiration despite everything, the truth declared incandescently this motto: "No matter is truly resolved until it is properly resolved. Though the powerful oppressor may subdue the weak, and the voices of fame acclaim him as great and just, those who applaud him must be careful, and never forget this motto: no matter is truly resolved until it is properly resolved. Let the discouraged take heart. Though the enemy may seem to have triumphed and his ranks be strong, if he is wrong, the battle is not over. For as surely as the morning follows the darkest night, no matter is resolved until it is properly resolved. O man fatigued by work, or young woman with an old soul, O heart oppressed in the chest of the worker and crushed by the power of money, continue with your hard struggle against the ruling power. No matter is resolved until it is properly resolved. Harmonies of life, let no one wish to be free of pain, nor let any soul long to be free from it, for the bitterness of today will be the sweetness of tomorrow, and what is lost in a moment will be gained in a lifetime. For it is the scarcity of something that gives it an incalculable value, and moments of hunger make the feast more appreciated. Only that heart which has harbored troubles and difficulties can experience full happiness when joy finally arrives. Let no human be discouraged by the bitter tonics of grief, yearning, need, and struggle, for it is precisely in the minor chords of life that the rarest harmonies of the soul are found. Preparation. We must not rush events but prepare our hearts for their arrival, like the earth spreads carpets to welcome spring, or strengthens itself with frost for winter. If a day in July were to suddenly burst into an icy world, joy would be scarce, though that world would still yearn for summer. Likewise, if cold December penetrated the heart of June, death and devastation would be imminent. Everything is planned. The majestic sphere spinning in space is governed and controlled by the supreme law. just as the blade of grass struggles to stretch toward the light through the earth. The poor and weak man is the only one who faces and battles against the force that governs all lives and all worlds, and it is the only one that demands the effect before having sown the cause. How vain it is to wait for joy without having previously sown the seed, and only God knows when that seed matures. We often stop, anxious and melancholic, lamenting the slow, fruitless harvest, not realizing that our own shadow prevents the light of the sun and delays the result. Our impatience may cause the tender shoots of pleasures and formless events to mature prematurely, and we will only harvest disappointment or drown the germs in salty tears before they have time to grow. While stars are born and powerful planets die, and comets rush fiery through space, the universe maintains its eternal calm. So too should we submit our souls to a higher law and move serenely through the difficulties of life, considering them as joys disguised in golden youth. When the earth seems like a summery paradise of cheerful songs, when souls are jubilant and hearts light, with no shadows in sight, we know that somewhere beneath the sky of sunset lies a garden that we all must know. The Garden of Gethsemane. We walk through dark paths and unknown streams carrying our broken dreams. Behind the mists of the years lies the garden. No matter how hard we try, we cannot avoid passing through it on our way. All paths that have been and will be pass through Gethsemane. All travelers sooner or later must pass through the gate of that garden, kneeling in the darkness, and they will fight with fierce desperation. May God have mercy on those who cannot say, "Not my will but thine," on those who only pray for the cup to pass and cannot see the purpose in Gethsemane. The measure of God. God evaluates souls according to their ability to embrace their best angel, love. Those who love the most draw closest to God. He who is all love or nothing at all, he who sits and watches the throbbing world, feeling his heart expand enough to encompass all beings within, is near the banner of the great Creator. Even if he lives beyond the realm of churches and knows nothing of festivals and fasts, nor any line of scripture, what God seeks in us is greatness that extends beyond any smallness in goals, loves, or beliefs, and embraces all the earth and the sky. Nobility is the duty of one who possesses exceptional gifts, visible to all. To elevate one's life to the height of great talents, one must shape oneself into a rare fullness, like gems set in refined gold. Their thoughts must be molded into perfect sweetness, shedding the folly and pride of the mind. He who drinks from the golden fountain of art, music, or poetry must purify his soul of evil and uproot the roots of evil from his heart. Great gifts must be shown as a worthy crown, not like gems in the hands of a beggar. Work must be constant and unceasing to elevate the individual to the demands of the crown they wear. Through tears, an artist labored over his paintings, tirelessly working day and night, seeking glory and honor. But the world seemed indifferent. His works were a splendor like beautiful skies, yet the world saw only the colors made with chemical dyes. Time passed and he lived, loved, and suffered. He traversed the valley of pain, returned to his canvas seeking relief, but no longer showed the same brilliance in the colors of his early years. However, the world eventually bowed to him because it was painted with tears. A poet possessed a genius, singing daily and writing for the praise of the people, but the people did not recognize him. His songs were as joyful as the morning and as sweet as the song of birds, yet the world did not honor him because they were only words. Time passed, and the poet, through pain, transformed like those who suffer. Once again, he dedicated himself to his poems, seeking to ease the pain of his mind. They no longer flowed as smoothly and rhythmically as in his early years, but surprisingly, the world honored him because they were written with tears. Thus, a price must always be paid by those who seek glory in art. The world always rewards the grieving and suffering heart. The happy must always be humble, and ambition must wait for the years before aspiring to the approval of a world that sees through its tears. What do we need? What is the true need of our nation? We do not require armies standing with shining swords ready to fight, nor powerful and dominating weapons controlling waters with relentless force. We do not need haughty men filled with riches competing with dolls adorned with signs of elegance and grace. What we long for are women with strong yet humble souls, possessing a rare gentleness born of sweetness. Women whose lives are pure, clean, and holy, and whom small children bless with their presence. Women who are brave, serious, and helpful to one another, scornful of the low and petty. Women who find more nobility in the titles of wife and mother than in that of a queen. These mothers, stripped of youth and grace, seek no greater glory than guiding young souls toward truth, sowing in fallow hearts the seeds of virtue and disdain for sin, patiently observing how the beautiful harvest grows and uprooting the weeds sown by crafty hands. Women who do not possess beauty as a treasure to be bought and sold. Women who remain unmoved by flattery while their pure prayers rise like incense. These are the pride of our country, the true need of our nation. O science, explorer of distances, child of God, who unveils all the secrets of existence with your divining rod, I beseech you to reach lofty heights, playful and inexhaustible thinker, seek and bind the eternal laws and truths, but let the light of day enter over the vanity of the wise, overthrow the superstitions of all eras, expel fanaticism, advance, and challenge all the stubborn enemies. Let truth and reason reign. But I implore you, O immortal science, may Christ remain. What could you give me to bear my burdens instead of him, my Lord? What could recompense all my losses and bring me sweet comfort? Your clear and cold eyes of reason could not comfort me, like the one who passed through that tear-stained station in the sad Gethsemane, in the hour of pain and weariness. What word of yours could give me strength to wait until tomorrow to find my loved ones, when I feel weak, desolate, and alone, prone to follow evil? Not you, O science, but Christ, my Saviour. Only you can make me strong. You are cold, elevated, and distant, and though my need is urgent, no prayer, however constant and persistent, could make you descend to me. Christ is near to help me every hour, to guide me day by day. O science, you sweep everything before your power, but I beg you to leave Christ respite. The mighty conflict we know as existence wears both the body and the soul. We spend our vital forces in resistance, trying to conquer and control everything we face, just as the rock defies, fearless and unshakable, the waves. Day after day it too wears down with time, despite its unshakable confidence. In the human breast arise depths and heights of intense emotions that can be fiercer than all the tides of the oceans. Sometimes the rock, worn by adversity and saddened by the coming conflicts, might envy the fragile reed, which without resistance surrenders when swept by the sea. This life seems to be a constant confrontation and repression. Dear God, if in that other invisible world we do not find rest but new life and progression, grant us a respite in the interim time of the tomb song. Oh, do not praise with your lips, my dear. Though I appreciate your tender words, I cherish even more the touching gaze of your eyes, those beautiful, tender, and loving eyes. Oh, do not reprimand me with your lips, dear. Though you provoke sighs in your chest, you can make the regret deeper with your sad and reproachful eyes, those afflicted and concerned eyes. Words at best are mere hollow sounds. Up in the radiant skies the constant stars never speak a word. They simply smile with their eyes. They shine with their eyes. So do not make promises with your lips, my dear, but read the truth of your noble heart in your eyes, which speak with the soul in your deep and beautiful eyes. If all my ships on the sea returned home, oh well, the harbour would not be enough to hold so many sails as there would be. If they all returned, if half of my ships came back from the sea and brought me their precious cargo, I would have wealth as great as any king on his throne, wealth so abundant that even in half of my ships still on the sea, if only one ship from those I have on the sea came back to me, well, the storm clouds could frown, for even if all the others sank, I would remain rich, proud, and happy if that ship came to me. If that ship sank in the sea and all the others came to me, laden with jewels, immeasurable wealth, glory, honors, and gold, I would still be the poorest soul on earth, if that ship did not return to me. O heavens, may there be calm, O winds, blow, may all my ships sail safely to me. But if any must sail the seas without returning, let them all but one, and bring back my love ship to me. It's love. Oh, I resemble the love of a woman, changing as the sands of the ocean with every tide, without loyalty to one cause, like the summer zephyrs, seducing with the same melody every blade of grass on the plain. The love of a woman is fleeting like the sun of an April day, which, while warming us with its rays, fades away while we smile. God made her without a heart, but endowed with skill, tact, and art. She lives interpreting her role, seeking praise. Her whispers in the ear, calling herself more than others, drinking the love of strong hearts, then discarding them without understanding their worth like the changing winds. She cannot understand human suffering, for she lacks a heart. Yes, dear love, Let us imagine that we sail together with flags towards some unknown bay, a secluded island far from the world. There we could live alone, forgotten by time, surrounded by pristine nature, away from the jealous struggles of the world. It would be a sweet and eternal married life. But in reality, we live in a busy and agitated world, where the crowds search, and life is just a routine. Fashion rules, and nature yields to art. It is better to lock these dreams in our hearts and continue our separate paths, loving and forgetting. The burial of love, let us clear a space and make love a place of burial. It has died, dear, and it tires us both. Let us bury it. It is growing heavier day by day. We will wrap it in wings of dead white butterflies in a coffin made from the finest maiden's hair. We will close its eyelids with rose pollen and place a thorn in its hand. With a little holy water it will fall upon its dead face. Tears of a rooster will fall. We will kneel before it and say, "Dream of the dreams," before turning it over. The gravedigger's doubt and distrust will lower it to the dust. We will say goodbye with a kiss, and each will continue on their way. Today we bury love and walk separated. Love is enough, love is sufficient. Let us not seek riches. Abundance breeds false goals, pride and selfishness. In those serene and bucolic days of old, men did not long for sumptuous houses or princely garments. The gods who dwelt in beautiful Olympia lived solely for love and the pleasure of love. Love is enough. Love is enough. Why should we worry about fame? Ambition is the most undesirable visitor, drawing us away with the glory of a name, taking us away from the refuges of peace and rest. Let us remain here in this secluded place, adorned by the enchanting grace of love. Love is enough. Love is enough. Why should we strive for power? It only brings envy and distrust among men. The tribute of the poor world satisfies for a moment, and earthly honors fade into dust. The grandest lives are often empty. Let me be loved, and let those who wish to be great be so. Love is enough, love is enough. Why ask for more? What greater gift have the gods given to men? What precious treasure is better than our hearts that love and keep loving? Old love may die, but the new is just as sweet, and life is beautiful, and the whole world, love is enough. Life is a privilege, life is a privilege. Its days of youth shine with the constant glow of spring, living, breathing, marveling, longing, nourishing with dreams the fire of the heart, thrilling with noble passions, shining with great ambitions in a single hour, knowing the depths and heights of feeling. My God, truly, how beautiful is youth! Life is a privilege like a rare rose. The mysteries of the human mind unfold. How many wonders there are in the earth, the air, and the sea. What treasures of knowledge await our key. What sunny paths of happiness lead us beyond the realms of indifference and doubt. And what great pleasures smile and bless the travelled paths of usefulness. Life is a privilege. Though midday fades and shadows stretch across the winding clearings, though the flowers of joy wither in the autumn air, the sweet fragrance of sympathy remains. And in the serious hours of life, we find depths in the souls of men that give new value and grandeur to this brief span on earth. Life is a privilege. If some sad fate sends us seeking only the exit door, if men abandon us and fall like shadows, even so, the supreme privilege of all is in the ascension of the soul, to find the welcoming presence at the goal, and in the knowledge that our feet have travelled paths that lead to and must wind again toward God. Insight, friends. When they pity us, I tell you, they are wasting their compassion. Let them keep it on their shelves until they need it for themselves. We appreciate the thought of God in creating us before bringing us to life. His art was rough but powerful in its simplicity, with great and elemental force. Then he perfected his skill to make men, learning to mix and mold clay with greater precision. We rejoice that God has placed you there so that you may raise your eyes and appreciate us in our beauty. Though you are an apprentice, he made you great enough to touch the best and deepest parts of us, and we are glad for that. We rejoice in many things. God adjusted our hearts with strings so fine that the slightest breath makes them vibrate, and we hear music where silence caresses your ears. We suffer much, but the souls of women, like fallen violet dust on embers, give the best of themselves in anguish. Oh, the subtle secrets we know of joy in pain, strange delights of ecstasy in nights full of sorrow, and mysteries of gain in loss, only known by Christ on the cross. They move our tears. Observe how the dew that reflects the sky dissolves into tears. Meanwhile, the sand hardens on the shore. How could your piety find a place for us? The mothers of the race. Men can be unconscious fathers. Their title is so poor. But the mother who adorns that crown knows all her flowers and thorns mixed, and those whose feet have walked that pain have walked on high with God. No, do not offer us the cup of pity. There are no looks of superiority or inferiority between us. Our eyes meet directly. We were born equal, so we live and die. The answer of a woman. I am called Angel of Love and Light, being of benevolence and celestial fire, sent from the kingdom of God to guide us in righteousness on paths where the Spirit ascends and yearns. You say I shine like a star in its course, like a ray from the altar, a spark from the source. Now hear my answer. Let all hear what I have to say, without fear. I affirm what I know is true. A pure and faithful love is the creator of the spirit that turns women into angels. I live not but in you. We are united from soul to soul by the sacred laws of life. If I am an angel, you are the reason. While my ship sails the sea, I contemplate. From the deck, beautiful and firm at the helm, the lovely form of love. I will curse the ship that sank last night for the pilot abandoned in the dark and the storm. My ship would not be firmer. It would have been lost if the helmsman had deserted or slept at his post. I put the wealth of my soul at your feet. Does any woman do this for any man every day? No creature in despair, mining the streets, has a more perverse heart than mine. If you had squandered the treasures you gained, as so many men have done with wealth in their hearts, this fire from the altar of God, this holy flame of love that burns like sweet incense forever for you, could have turned into a wild conflagration of shame. If you had tortured my heart or been vile or false, for angels and demons are united in a mold until love guides them up or down. I hold, I tell you, that fervent women, wives and sweet, tender mothers, if fate had been less just, might have abandoned their lives to madness that springs and ends in despair, like the fire in the home that spills brightness around carelessly, leveling walls to the ground. The world makes grave errors in judging these things. The great good and the great evil are born from the same breast. Love gives us horns and hooves or gives us wings. The best can be the worst, as the worst can be the best. You must thank your own courage for what I became, for the devil lurked beneath the angel that was in me. The need of the world, countless gods, countless creeds, infinite paths winding and winding, but only the art of kindness is what the sorrowful world truly longs for.